Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of the Tier Maker series. Now today in question, a very special episode. I'm not reviewing any kind of pack or any kind of special tag, none of that. Even though there is Electric Excellence going on right now, I'll probably review that pack later this week. But today I'm going to be reviewing every single max out legendary and epic that I have used solely for a tri-series purpose. Okay, not only solely for a tri-series purpose, but the purpose of me maxing the car out was solely because I wanted to win a tri-series prize car. So let me give you an example. I think it was, what was it? The Peugeot Pikes Peak. Want to know what I think is the best car in the game? It was rear-wheel drive, German World Expo. Remember that requirement? That requirement was absolutely amazing. And one of the best, if not the best, requirement that we've ever had for a tri-series final. And at the time, I already had a maxed out legendary for that, which was Müller. But Müller is not considered in this, even though I used Müller in the final. And if you guys don't know, Müller is the name for my Club Sport 25 Porsche. And that is because I maxed the car out solely because I loved it. Not solely because I needed it for a tri-series final. And it's the same thing for epics. You know, obviously there are epics that have won me tri-series prize cars that are not included in this list because I did not max them out because I wanted to win a tri-series prize car. I maxed them out because I loved them. So every card that we're judging today were cars that you can say I was basically forced to max to try and win a prize car. And to make it even more fun for you guys, I will even talk about if the car that I maxed won me the prize car or not and what prize car it was. Now for most of these though, I will tell you that I will forget. I will forget what was the prize card that I needed to win, where the epic or legendary was applicable in. But I will remember if it won me the prize car or not. I will remember that because there are very little cars where I actually maxed out where it did not win me the tri-series prize car. When I go all in, I go all in. There's very little room for failure when I go all in. So anyway, here are the ranks. Actually useful, time to time, had a moment, not even its moments, but just a moment. So at some time after the tri-series, I actually used that epic once where it was a pivotal character, I guess. Using it out of pity. Now using it out of pity is literally just me using it in clubs against bots. So like the car is crap. I wouldn't even use it up against an actual opponent in clubs if I'm aiming for, you know, that top 5 position. So I'm using it out of pity. If I'm racing against bots, then usually I would just choose maxed out epics where I realize, wait a minute, I've just not used you in like, you know, 10 years, whatever it is. And then literally forgotten. Like I literally forget that I even have the car maxed in my garage. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we begin with the Subaru WRX. Forgotten. I literally forget it. I don't even use it in clubs. I think, yeah, no, I don't use it in clubs, but did it get I don't know. Did it get I feel like it got a buff, 4.593. Now, everything that you see here is completely maxed out because these are my own. I did not take these photos from Top Drives Club or anything. These are my own. Did that get an upgrade? I see, that's the thing. That's how forgotten that Subaru WRX has become to me. I don't know anything about it. One thing I will say, though, is that it did win me a prize car, and that prize car was the Apollo Intensa Emozione. Not only that, but it won me the first prize car that came out with JPT. I forgot what it was. But then again, was it the Apollo? It might have been the Apollo. My memory is a bit hazy. Next up is the Viper SRT10. This one I'm literally using out of pity. I had 2 of these maxed. One I maxed out of fun because it was a Dodge and it was one of the first epics I got from American Frontier, so I was really happy with that. The second one though, I was forced to max this, but once again it won me the prize car, whatever it was, but I forgot what the prize car was. It might have been the donk, I'm not too sure though. Next up is the BMW X3 M40i. Time to time I do use this. It's actually relatively useful. Handling is pretty good. MRA is decent for an SUV. It won me the prize car. That prize car was the Peugeot WRX, the one that has all surface tires now. So that's a good one too. That's a good one time to time. I wouldn't say it's actually useful, but from time to time, I do tend to use it. Next up is the Viper GTSR concept from time to time as well. Once again, much like the SRT10, I have 2 of these max. One I max out of, you know, my passion for Dodge. The other one was because I needed it. And I do believe that the GTSR, this has won me a lot of prize cars. Not only one, it has won me a lot of prize cars towards that time of early early 2021, late 2020, around that time, the GTSR won me a lot of prize cards. I think it's won me 4 or 5. One of them, I do remember, was the Bentley EXP. So that's a very good prize card that it won me. I use it a lot. That is a win-win situation. That's basically all the epics and legendaries that land in actually useful and time to time are basically win-win situations, because these are investments that actually paid off. Usually epics in the bottom 3 rows, they're not really win-win situations, like a win-loss. It's like, yeah, it may have won me some might even be a lose-lose. But yeah, you know, in most cases it'll be like, yeah, the card won me the prize card, but then I never use it ever again, so it's a bit of a waste of 15 ultra rares. But yeah, the GTSR is great. It won me the Bentley EXP and others. I just cannot remember what the others were, but it was a very, very useful car. All right, next up is the Volkswagen Phaeton W12. Actually, time to time. The thing is, you cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong with four-wheel drive standard tires. I'm actually using this car right now, today, in today's daily, because today's daily is all rain, and I think it's 2000 to 2009. Once again, the Phaeton W12 has won me several prize cars. It's never lost me a prize car. Same with the GTSR concept, it's never lost me a prize car. Every time I had it in a Tri-Series final hand, it has won me the car. So those are very, very nice. I do forget what they were. Porsche 911 GT2, very similar to the Viper GTSR concept, as in, like, I have two. One was maxed out because I love my 996 Porsches. The other one was I needed to max up for a Tri-Series. So here's the thing with the 911 GT2. The first one, I would say I maxed out of passion, and it was useful, because I remember there was a Tri-Series where I think I used 2 of these and it won me that thing. But the thing was, for this 911 GT2, I'm actually going to say, since this is my second one, I don't use the second one very often. You know what I mean? So I'm actually going to put it in, it had a moment. It had a moment. Usually 2000 events, it's one of the better cars. Porsche events, I'll use it because I upgraded this the right way, 223. There are a couple old Porsches that I have that are 323, which I don't like to touch because it just feels wrong, sacrilegious even. But yeah, the 911 GT2 is one of the few cars where it actually failed to win me a prize car. The thing about the GT2 is that it actually has won me prize cars, but it also has lost me prize cars. So I can't remember what I won with the 911 GT2, but I do remember what I lost, and that was getting 11th place for the Jaguar XJ9. So that freaking sucked. I remember using 2 of these and a Murcielago. Obviously the Lamborghini was useless, but yeah, that lost me the Jaguar. It won me a prize car as well, but I forgot what it was. Next up is the Alpha Pandion. This won me the prize car. I use it out of pity, borderline forgotten, to be honest. I do use it out of pity. I think the only reason why I don't really forget it is because it's at least mid-tier epic. Used to be a higher end tier epic at 75, so then I would still see it if I scroll a little bit, but now I think I'm starting to forget it. It's kind of like that elephant thing from what do you call it, that Pixar movie with the emotions. I forgot what it's called, but there was that elephant that kind of just, like, you know, disappeared. That's what the Pandion is. But anyway, yeah, dude, like, it won me the prize car. I think it was a Pagani. Was it the No, it was I can't remember. It was the first one from Amalfi Coast, whatever the prize car was. It wasn't a Hennessy. I can't remember. It won me the prize car though. It won me the prize car, but I've not really used it since. I used it out of pity. Next up is the RS4. This car is forgotten. I never ever use it, but I do remember exactly what it won me. It won me the Peugeot HDI FAP. I won that on the 4th of July. And it didn't win me the prize car, so, you know, credit to that. And I think at one point it was medium ground clearance, so I think if it was medium ground clearance, then I would use it out of pity in clubs. But now that it's low, it's completely useless to me. Next up is the Agera R, actually useful. Use it all the time. Max it out, obviously, for the Viper GTSR. Blosseg, of course, actually useful. Next up is the Isima, and it's forgotten. It's not a bad car. The issue with the Isima is that it's a cheap dragster to use, and usually when you want to use a dragster, you are going to spend everything you have on that dragster. So you know what I mean, man. You save RQ on the twisty track sets, and you spend all your remaining RQ on the drag track sets because you win the most points on the drag. So although the Isima is good and it's capable of beating some very high range ultra rares, at the end of the day, when it comes to clubs, there's no such thing as you know, RQ 60 to 66. You know, if it's ultra rare times 5, it's ultra rare times 5. So you can't use the Isima. And if it is just rear wheel drive times 5, There's no way I'm using the ISMA, even though it's applicable, and it's not even applicable in much because it's considered what, a Croatian car or CH, a Swiss car. CR is Croatia, sorry. So yeah, Switzerland. But the problem with the ISMA is that it's a very cheap to use dragster in its RQ. So even if it was Epic ×5, which is not even a requirement in clubs, I wouldn't be using the ISMA because if it was Epic ×5, theoretically in clubs, I would be using things like the Yellowbird, for example, or the Farbout if I had it. But yeah, the ISMA, I forget it exists. Next up is the Lotus Exige 265. It had its moment, to be fair. Usually in Lotus events, or like, I think there was this one time where it was like a very similar event to the one going on right now in multiplayer, where it's like RQ 50 to 65. So it only includes the lowest like level of epics or whatever it was, something like that, because the Exige was always a low range epic where it was actually useful. I know it had its moment. You can't go wrong with a lightweight Lotus that handles very well, so it ain't definitely useless. ZL1 Camaro convertible is also had its moment. I literally only use this car when it's American Dream ×5 in clubs. Either American Dream ×5 or American Dream ×5 or Chevrolet ×3 or Chevrolet ×5. This is what I use all the time because most of my Chevrolet epics are Corvettes and they're not American Dream. They're OG, thinking Z06 for example. So because, and Lincolnfelter, even though it's not Lincolnfelter anymore, like it's not the name anymore, then yeah, the Camaro convertible has its moments. I would even say not even a moment, but it has its moments. But I wouldn't really classify it as, well, maybe I could. I'll classify it as time to time. It's not a useful epic, but I do use it time to time just because that American Dream requirement does show up from time to time. So there you go. Rizvani Beast Alpha. Now this one, there are two that you're gonna see. I'll do both of them. One's drag spec and one is 233. The drag spec one is from time to time, usually in clubs when it's an American USA ×5 event, for example, or Verbal Drive ×5. It's kind of like my B team dragster. So if I can't use like a Hellcat, for example, I will use the Rizvani Beast Alpha. Now the Beast Alpha is actually stronger than the Hellcat, not the new ones, but the American Dream ones. It's not bad, but I definitely use the drag spec a lot more than the Beast Alpha. Oh yeah, and forgive me, I totally forgot to say, both Rizvanis, they won me a prize car. Totally forgot what it was, but it did win me the prize car. Camaro ZL1 convertible won me the Dodge Demon on the first time. The Lotus Exige won me the Bugatti Chiron Sport. And I think we are up to date. ISMA won me whatever that prize car was. It was the same. The ISMA won me the same prize car as the Alfa Romeo Pandion did, but I don't know what it was. Next up is the Holden HSV Club Sport Sauber C9, Mercedes C9. This, I use it out of pity. Impreza WRX STI, I use it from time to time. That's also pretty good. That won me the Apollo IE Intensa Emozione alongside the WRX. So this one's actually pretty good because it's just handles better, lower 0-60, medium ground clearance, and it's kind of on the higher end of epics and medium. So I do use that from time to time. And then we'll talk about the Blue Rizvanis later because that's the most recent inclusion. Thank you, Siri. I don't know why Siri always thinks I'm talking to her when I'm not talking to her. I don't know why. Roof RCT is next. Forgotten 100%, but I will never forget what it won me. It won me the Koenigsegg Jesko. So it won me the Koenigsegg Jesko, and I never used it ever again. Next up is the Bristol Fighter. Once again, I forgot what it won me, but I do use, I don't want to say I had it at the moment. I don't really use it from time to time because once again, it kind of suffers that dragster thing where like if you want to use the dragster car, you want to use the best of the best. Bristol Fighter, I would say the moment that it had is when I want to win a test bowl, because then it is very, very useful and it's still a great bargain. I don't know. The thing is, I feel like I would put it as actually useful or time to time if Epic ×5 was actually a requirement in clubs, but it's not. And the thing is, usually if I want to go hard on the drags, even though the Bristol Fighter is good, I'd rather be using the Legendary if the RQ limit is high. It's still fantastic as an epic. Like I said, if Epic ×5 was a requirement, then I would put it in time to time where actually useful, but it isn't, so I'm gonna put it in at this moment. It won me a car though. Next up, Bentley Continental GT Speed Coupe. had a moment. It had a moment. It won me the Bugatti Chiron Sport alongside the 265, so I'll put both of them together. You know what? Let's talk about 265 because not 265, but Bugatti Chiron Sport, because the Land Rover Defender Works, same thing, won me the Bugatti Chiron Sport. So you're basically seeing 3 out of the 5 cars that won me the Bugatti Chiron Sport. The other 2 being the I can't even remember. Lotus was one of them. Lotus Evora was one of them, and I can't remember. Oh, and Bentayga. So the other 2 were legendaries. Anyway, Land Rover Defender Works V8. Using out of pity, to be honest. The thing is, you want to just use the Colorado anyway. Impreza WX Hatch GR. It had its moment, to be fair, because there was one hatchback, like kind of championship GT series, whatever it was, where that was actually a useful car in. I can't remember what it was, but it won me once again a Polo Intenza Emozione. Same with the S204 and the WRX in the Forgotten. Next up is the BMW M5 that is actually useful. I use this thing all the time, absolutely love it. It won me the Peugeot WRX once again, and it's a fantastic machine. I love it very much. The MRI is decent. The only thing that's bad about it, well, actually 2 things: top speed and handling. That being said, though, I do use it from time to time. It's a great saloon and 5-seater as well. Porsche 911 Speedster is actually useful. Once again, it won me Peugeot Pikes Peak T16. It was that amazing requirement. And it's an amazing car. Now, this was a car that I would have maxed out regardless. Like, I would have maxed it if it wasn't for a price car. But obviously, I did unpack this when I was opening the 15 carbon fibers for the Peugeot T16. I got that and I maxed it out for that Tri-Series purpose. So, yeah, that one's really good. 911 GT2 996.2. From time to time, I do tend to use it. I think this thing won me the Ultima RS, I believe. That was a very good one as well. It's just a slightly worse version of the Speedster, but I still use it from time to time. Obviously, I have a soft spot for 996 cars, models. Next up is the Volvo S80. It had its moment, but in terms of like 4-wheel drive standard tire cars, it's not very useful, which is a bit strange that I'm putting the Phaeton in time to time and the Volvo in had its moment, because the Volvo is the better car. It handles better. So why am I putting the Phaeton higher? The thing is, the Phaeton, okay, first of all, they both won me price cars, right? The Volvo won me the GTSR. The thing is, I do tend to use the Volvo more often, and I don't know why. To be completely honest, I don't know why. But I actually do tend to use the Phaeton more often. I'm using both of them right now in the daily. But I do know for a fact that I do use the Phaeton more. Maybe it's because I've had it longer than the Volvo. I'm not too sure, but I do use the Volkswagen more. Next up is the Abarth 124. Don't remember what it won me. I actually don't remember if it even won me whatever it was. I think it did. I think it was Imola. I can't remember. But it had its moment. I don't have a lot of Italian epics maxed. So yeah, that's okay. Next up is the 207. It had its moment as well. It won me something. But I know it was successful in winning me whatever that something was. Pagani Huayra Tricolor. I mean, obviously that is actually useful. I use it all the time as well, so that's always fantastic. I mean, it's good. It's good to put the legendaries in actually useful, because like if you max a legendary and it ends up being useless, that's gonna sting a lot. And there are legendaries that I've maxed that end up being completely useless. 959. Holden HSV Maloo is time to time. It's a medium ground clearance. MRA is great. It basically is just a medium ground clearance of the Sidewinder. So I use it in Ocean City Streets quite a bit. Time to time I do use it. I do like it. I do like the car a lot. Also, it won me the Sauber C9, and I do have an extra compassion or love, I guess, or affection, whatever, for cars that won me prize cars that I really wanted. So for example, the Maloo won me the C9. The Porsche Speedster won me the Peugeot T16. M5 won me the WRX. The Agera won me the GTSR, which once again I feel like I'm being really mean to the S80 V8 because that won me the GTSR too, but oh well. Talking about cars that won me the GTSR is the XC90, but this is definitely forgotten. I never touched it after that final. 530D X-Drive Touring, I'm using it out of pity. Once again, I know it's a bit strange, right? Why am I putting that so low when it theoretically is better than the S80 and the Phaeton? The problem is, I think when I had the Phaeton Max, I didn't have a lot of 4-wheel drive standard tire cars. So when I think about it in memory, I use the Phaeton a lot. But then I started getting more four-wheel drive Sanitari cars by the time I got the S80, like better cars, like the Jaguar E-Pace, for example, or the Cadillac CT6, or the Mercedes. So then, the S80 was, kind of down the pecking order. And then by the time I got the BMW 530D, I had so many cars that were better. Like the CT6, I had 2 E-Paces. Like the time when I maxed out my first Phaeton that you see in time to time, which I did use literally time to time, I didn't have 2 max E-Paces. I didn't have a CT6. So because the Phaeton is older, it had more time to be used, if that makes sense. And now I don't really use it that often anymore, to be fair, but it had its moment. The X-Drive, I feel like it's just never gonna have its moment because now my garage is so big. I just have cars that are way better than the X-Drive. That's just putting it simply. Next up is the M340. This won me. Was it Imola? I can't remember if it was Imola. I cannot remember. I use it out of pity, really. Next up, let's talk about the 2 Stradales. Those 2 were decent. I think it won me the Hennessy. I can't remember, honestly. But they won me the prize car. I think it was the Hennessy. I think it actually was the Hennessy. Time to time for the 233 had its moment for the 332. When it comes, the thing is, the TZ3, yeah, it's good MRA, but it's not my first pick dragster. I have better options for that, like the Roof Yellowbird. Now moving on, Zonda S, I would say actually useful. I actually do like that car a lot, and it won me the, I want to say Koenigsegg Jesko, I think. It was the Jesko. All right, moving on is the W12 Roadster. It had its moment. It won me the Peugeot 905B. IXM60, I'm going to say actually useful. And that's one of the rare ones where it's actually useful, but it didn't win me the prize car because this was required for, I believe, the KTM. And the KTM, this was the only car I had. So I'm not going to blame the IX, okay? That was the only good car I had in the hand for the KTM. Everything else that was backing up the IX was absolutely useless. But that being a required car for the Tri-Series basically just gave me an excuse to finally max it. So in a sense, it was kind of a passion max, but also it was during a Tri-Series time. But I do know that that is a very, very useful car. So I'm going to put it in the top spot. Moving on. Oh, I did put my second GT2. But to be fair, my first GT2 was maybe, I don't know. I thought my first GT2 was for a passion project, but like I said, these cars are very, very old and they've won me multiple. I think the first one has won me multiple prize cars. The second one lost me the XJR9. The first one had its moment, many moments, so I think time to time, fair. We'll talk about all 3 of those when we get to that last. ZL11LE, I'm going to put it in the same with the Camaro. Same reason, those 2 won me the Demon as well. HSV had its moment. Now, obviously, those 3 epics won me the Sauber C9, Maloo, HSV, and HSV Club Sport. And obviously, the highest and the more powerful one is the more useful one. The one in the middle kind of had its moment, and then the least powerful is using out of pity. Q50 Red Sport, time to time, honestly. Now, this, can't remember when it won me, but it did not win me the prize car. This one I maxed out for a challenge. It was one of those GTE challenges, whatever it was. I can't remember what the prize card was. But, or was it in Owners? It might have been in Owners. That being said, though, it was actually very useful. This was before the time of Learn the Savannah Way, where it added a bunch of epic saloons. This was kind of the car that I used a lot for that medium ground clearance niche. Obviously, now the Q50 has been replaced by the Maloo. So now in this day and age, if I maxed it now, like let's say if I maxed the Q50 last week because of a Tri-Series, then obviously I'll put it in like using out of pity or forgotten. But because I maxed it such a long time ago and it got its use, I'm actually going to put it in time to time because I remember that I use it a lot. So it's kind of like one of those cars where it just kind of stays in my mind. Now, next up is the BMW 750, and it's actually useful. This is the biggest like conundrums in my garage. Until this day, this car kind of confuses me because four-wheel drive Santa tires is always about handling, and this car just doesn't handle. It handles worse than, a lot of the cars that you see here. It handles worse than the Volvo. It handles worse than the BMW 530D. But the thing about the 750D is that it wins. That's the real sleeper. That car is the real sleeper. That is the definition of being a sleeper car. It wins things I don't expect it to win. It doesn't even have good MRA, but it just pulls wins out its ass. I don't know how it does it. All right, Exige V6 Cup from time to time. You cannot go wrong with a Lotus. It basically is just a more valuable version of the 265. Did it win me the prize car? Yes. Do I remember what it won me? No. Next up 959. I use it out of pity. It literally is like, the thing is, I'll never forget it. It's such an expensive car that I had to max out, and I only used it in one daily, and that daily doesn't even exist anymore because of the new daily events, right? So yeah, man, the 959 I just use out of pity. It's kind of like, you know, maybe if you like, let's say you're a watch collector. I mean, that isn't even a good analogy, because if you buy a super expensive watch, you'll just sell it if you never use it. But it feels like, you know, let's say I'm a watch collector and every day I use Patek Philippe. But then one day I decide to go buy a Hublot, because, you know, if you collect watches, then you will know that in the watch world, Hublot is kind of looked down upon. So, but you bought a Hublot because maybe you needed it, or maybe your wife really wanted a Hublot, I don't know, but you own a Hublot and you know how much money you spent on that Hublot, so maybe sometimes you will wear it out of pity, because it feels like if you don't wear it, it feels like you just completely wasted all your money. That's exactly the same reason why I use my 959. I feel like if I don't use a 959, it feels like the 15 epics that I put into it were wasted. So literally I'm using it in respect of the epics that died to max it out. I don't like the 959. I love it in real life. It's actually one of my favorite cars in real life. But in top drives, it's actually below trash. And last but not least, yeah, for the most recent tri-series for the GTR, I maxed out 3 Rezvani Beast Alpha X's. I don't think I've ever done anything like this ever before. I've maxed out double Stradales. I've maxed out double Porsche GT2s. But never have I ever gone for the triple. So yeah, 45 Ultra investment, and I can foresee how it's gonna be. I think from time to time I'll be using these two, because at the end of the day, you cannot go wrong. You know what? You cannot go wrong. I'm gonna put all the 3 of them here. The thing is, you actually cannot go wrong with an RQ79. These are pseudo legendaries, and you know the Beast Alpha X's are really good. They're basically the Stradale TZ3 but better, because like, their MRA is better, and that's it. But there are better dragsters, and I think I'm really only going to be using them in dragsters, and I can foresee in the future if it's USA ×5, if it's Speed of Light, if it's Dragon City, that will be like my B team. Like my A team will always just be, you know, the Demon, and well, you know what though, because I don't own the Red Eyes, much to my dismay, but I don't own them. These are actually my next best option after the Demon and the Viper GTSR. So yeah, it might be a borderline A team, B team car, but definitely I will be using them from time to time. You cannot go wrong with an RQ79 Epic that's max for the most part. But anyway, guys, I'm not gonna put that in actually useful, because I've only maxed them out for like what, 3 days. So I'm not gonna put them in actually useful. I've not actually used them that often. I've not actually even used them in club since. So I'm being generous even putting it in time to time. But I can foresee that time to time I will be using that car. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below, what are the investments that have truly wasted your time? Once again, everything that you see here from Had Its Moment down below truly is a waste of my time. I would say sentimental value would say that the GT2 and the Bristol are, and the A-Barf are, these 3 cars I can appreciate, and I do believe that in the future the A-Barf will be useful, but I can't see the GT2 and the Continental being too useful in the future. But yeah, basically everything here and below has been an absolute waste. To be fair though, it's not too bad. When I first made this video, I thought that, you know, the Forgotten Pal would be a lot bigger than it actually is, but it isn't, to be fair, which is pretty nice. Because like, I think usually when I see that the requirements are crap, I wouldn't go in anyway. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac.